Okay, first of all, welcome all the guests and the audience of the program today. Webinar Starting Technical Business is the first program in the series of pre-event organized by Cybersecurity Technology Village, a part of TECHFEST Vietnam 2021. And TECHFEST Vietnam 2021 is an annual event organized by the Ministry of Science and Technology of Vietnam in collaboration with the Department of Market Development and Science and Technology Enterprise, NATEC, and the National Startup Support Center, NSSC, and the National Project 844, Initiative for Startup Ecosystem in Vietnam. This is also the first year that the Cybersecurity Technology Village participates in TECHFEST. We want to promote the spirit of entrepreneurship and supporting startups in the cybersecurity industry to have more opportunities to develop and create a solid foundation for Vietnamese cybersecurity ecosystem. Our webinar today will revolve around the topic with the perspective of two CEOs who are leading experts in the field of startup and technology in Vietnam and the world. Our organizing team is very pleased to introduce two special speakers and our moderator who will discuss directly with us today. Mr. HD Moore, CEO of Rumble Company and also developer of Metasploit Framework, an environment to test and exploit bugs of service. And Mr. Nguyễn Lê Thành, Director of Cybersecurity of VNG, co-founder of VN Security. And the moderator today, Mr. Chương, co-head of Cybersecurity Technology Village, Director of Vietnam Cybersecurity Company VSEC. And now our webinar will be led by Mr. Chương.
Thank you, MC. And also good morning to HD Moore and also Mr. Thành. Also, well, we call him Adi. Yeah. It's my honor and also it's a kind of honor for cybersecurity community in Vietnam to have a talk from both of you. And as you know, when we opened the registration yesterday, and we get a lot of questions. It's around 70 questions until now. And I believe that for this discussion, we cannot answer all the questions. So we also picked some very important questions. And here we have around nearly 100 participants. And most of them is from cybersecurity community and also from technology community. And have a little bit is from university. It's some students, they also want to join for this discussion. And that is our participant. And also we have around 30 minutes for the discussion. And I believe that after this discussion, we also have some collect another question and the feedback from participants so that we can send to all of you. Here I to start for this session, I saw some my friend in the participant, and I hope that all of you can hear our voice clearly, and we hope that we can bring some value to all of you. As I said, that we have around 70 questions, but I also have to remove some very specific questions. So we try to focus for our topic today is on starting technical business. So here I have the first question is on the trending. What business trends are shaping the development of cybersecurity technology from here and next years and in the near future? I think this is a very important question as it allows us to go in the right direction. So I think for this question, we can hear from both our speaker. So for the first thing, I think I can invite Eddie Moore for this question first. Can you hear?
Sure. Yeah, happy to answer. It's a good question. It's difficult to know what trends are worth following versus what trends are happening. So if you look at, I spend my time in asset inventory and trying to figure out what's on networks all the time. And what we see, of course, is with the pandemic that more people work from home, more people are adopting cloud faster, kind of all your standard trends around that. What we're also seeing, though, is that many businesses are going under, and they're being sold, they're being bought, they're being traded. And as a result, there's a lot more M&A happening than I think even 2 years ago. So there's a lot of folks who are dealing with networks that are really other companies' networks that are now joined to theirs and trying to figure out what's on them and how it works, and things like that. So that's my perspective, which is very closely focused on network inventory. So I'd love to hear RD's perspective as well, but definitely lots of work from home, lots of cloud, and lots of M&A for sure.
Thank you. How do you think, RD? Red Dragon, sorry, Red Dragon is a full nickname of Mr. Thành.
Okay, so I think HD had been cover most of the thing I guess will be increasing problem, especially for like work from home, like because when the worker go back home to work, then the threat will follow them back to home, right? So that's definitely something we will see increasing in terms of issue, in terms of security issue. And I think cloud services, mobile services will come along and the trending in terms of like I see like the supply chain attack and the kind of in terms of the security solution is moving into like whatever solution moving into zero trust and which is like which is current. I mean, there's a number of products have been moving into the zero trust, but I think there will be a trending in terms of building like zero trust platform as a virtual kind of support the entire workforce to work like, you know, from home, which is definitely something different, because previously when we when people work in the office, so we can build kind of like zero trust network inside the corporate network and whatever. But then when people starting moving around and work from home because of the COVID-19 pandemic, then definitely there will be something, I guess, innovative in terms of like how we define the network perimeter and how we can force the whole organization to secure the user when they work remotely at home. And so those kind of things I think will be like the trending in the next few years.
Thank you, Eddie, and thank you, anh Thành. So I believe that most of attendees here, we are working from home, and I believe that all attendees now you access for this webinar from home. And what I catch from two speaker is the threat will follow with our trend on a pandemic is when we move to home, when we train to work from home, and the threat will follow us. And that's the thing is the key takeaway that I can get from this discussion. And based on that, we can align with some solution to protect our people and protect our employee and the system. Yeah, I believe that. Thank you for that. And I heard that Eddie, you resides from Metasploit. Sorry, it's from Rapid7, right? And in 2016, you trained to the new company. It's called Rumble, right? So I think it's in some way you have some reason to resign from Rapid7 and into the new business. You can share with us more on the reason on that.
Yeah, sure. You know, Metasploit was a lot of fun. It helped me, you know, travel the world and see people and meet RD back in Malaysia in 2003. So it was, you know, really a fun project. It was great doing open source. But I want to do something a little different. You need to do the same thing for 15 years, you need a break, you need to do something different. So personally, what I like to do is go spend time building a product and then go spend time consulting, like breaking into stuff, pen testing, red teaming, network analysis, vulnerability analysis, research, all the stuff that like gets you closer to the wire and lets you understand what people are really struggling with. So my usual idea for how to build a business is to go in the consulting field again, do a whole lot of different types of work, understand as much as I can about different people's pain points, how customers are doing things, and then get some ideas together, then go try to build another product. So in this case, the product that came out of that was Rumble, which is that after doing many pen tests where we would show up and the customer says, here's my spreadsheet of targets. And we say, great, where's the rest of it? And they go, what? What do you mean? Like, well, we broke into these other IPs that aren't even in your spreadsheet. Like, you don't know about your network. So therefore you can't really protect it, right? So that's that was kind of a recurring thing, is every time I would do a security assessment, we would typically break in through networks the customer didn't even know they had. And that's really what drove my work on Rumble, which is helping customers identify what's on their network and how it's exposed and where it's connected.
Thank you so much. So I catch from here is that like when you are working with Repair 7, you also get a lot of you hear a lot from pain point from clients, so that you think that you start Rumble so that you can have for another, right? Thank you, so thank you, Eddie. And I heard that Red Dragon. Okay, I will call him Red Dragon right now from now on. He also at the first time I knew Red Dragon, I believe that he is truly a researcher. He's a security researcher. But recently, I knew that he also invests in some another startup on the cyber security. So I believe that he also have some reason behind to invest or to mentoring for that for these startup. And I think for this topic today, it's also happy for us if you can share some light on that, so that another participant attendee they can learn from your thinking.
So I think I have been always a technical person, even though like in the last 10 years, I think I spent my work basically in management side, but then when I have time, right, I think I still always like a technical person, and I still do research a lot. I feel that by myself, because when I think about 23 years back when I graduated from my university, right, I did start a company, like security company in 1998, which is I think very early. A security company in Vietnam, and back to that time, I think there's no market for security in Vietnam. So I mean, from that startup, I feel that I'm not really suitable for like running business and so on, and I'm more suitable for like the technical research and like product research and kind of things. So that's why. I rarely go into like doing business and doing startup. About 3 years back, when I met a team, I mean a team like he's one of the fellow in VN Security as well, and he have a development team with a really strong background. Many of them is like doing international competition in programming and so on, and the technical lead of that company is one of the friend in VN Security, and he's one of the best guy I've been know for 20 years. So that's the reason why I start talking to them, and I do find that probably is one of the opportunity to start something, to building something which I feel that there's a gap in the market, and I feel that I want to do for some time, but I don't. But I didn't go for that simply because I don't want to run a new business, right? But when I find like kind of like suitable team, which is they can do it, and I can like basically in terms of investment, like funding for the company, and also some kind of like strategic guide, and that should be okay for me, right? So that's why I start invest into that company. And starting from that, actually there's two business coming out from that. So one is about like blockchain security. So basically, I mean, blockchain and cryptocurrency is the trend, right? And there's a lot of things happening around, and I think security is one of the biggest concern regarding like cryptocurrency and blockchain, simply because it's money, right? And there's lack of regulation, lack of that a lot of scam, a lot of issue as well, and especially like things like smart contract is a really new area, and many of developers, like we all know that developers doesn't really know how to secure their code very well, right? And For that reason, I actually changed the direction of that company, moved into the blockchain security. So basically doing the smart contract audit, reviewing like implementation of different blockchain network and so on. So that's one of the business on the blockchain security side, and it's still doing well after 3 years at the moment. And about 1.5 years back, and there was an idea where where in VSEC we participate on one of the hackathon, I think about like 7 years back in 2015, I guess, and we won that competition with an idea to do kind of like the cloud-based application security solution with like, so it's about like 7 years back. Like I guess after that, like company like Cloudflare and so on have been doing very well, but we had that idea and won that competition about like 7 years back. So then, because the company and invest, they have a really strong development team and understand very well in security. So and because of like the crypto winter, right? Back to like 2 years, 1.5 years back, the crypto winter, and everything about blockchain is like kind of like slow down, and you don't see much development yet. So that's why we make decision to build a product. So that's why we have another company called Polaris InfoSec, which is kind of a product which have is cloud-based product, and also support on-premise and appliance as well, which help the company to secure their application on the internet, like web application or the API backend of mobile application and so on. So I still see that even though there's a player in the market like Imperva, F5 or Cloudflare, right? I still see that there's number of places where there's still a huge market, right? So most of them is more or less target like enterprise and big client like banking and so on. But if we are doing in the security field for long enough, we know that there's like millions of small and business website and application is like unprotected, and they don't know how to actually secure their application and so on. So that where I see the potential for the product. So we have build the product after 6 months, and we went through like closed beta, open beta, and recently we start actually selling the product to some of the clients. So I think that's how I start the business. But then though is like my role is basically still kind of advisor than like actually running the business.
Thank you, Red Dragon. To let all the participants know, he and his friend also found a group of research called VN Security, and until now it has over 20 years, I think so. And I also check that every year they publish at least 2 or 3 publications on the hacking. It's really hacking is really good effort for our community. It's very event security. And also I just checked on the LinkedIn from HD Moore. You changed the role from a CEO to some kind of CTO or some kind of very technical position, right?
Yeah, it was kind of fun. So for Rumble, I ran the company by myself for the first 2 years. So it was a lot of fun. I got to do everything from writing the product to marketing, to figuring out sales, accounting, tax, all the stuff that's annoying that I didn't know how to do before, which I really enjoyed learning all that stuff. When we got to last November, we had about 150 customers, lots of revenue, we're profitable, but it was just me. And it was really hard to like go for a walk around the block or go to the store because everything, any moment things could fall apart, right? So I had to start looking at hiring, raise money from venture capital to give us a little more buffer so we could hire faster. I brought on a co-founder to run sales and marketing, just a friend of mine who I've known for a long time, who I trust to build that. And we went and built. So, fast forward 9 months, 10 months, we're now 14 people. We're, basically tripled the business so far, or very close to that. Things are going great. We're still probably profitable. We have to wait for our accountants to tell us. And, I did everything I wanted to do in the CEO role, and very much I wanted to get back to writing code, doing research, doing all the fun stuff that I really enjoy. And the engineering team really wants me back working with them, right? Because otherwise they get very little of my time because I'm busy answering phones, talking to people, doing things like that. So because we're a remote-only company, we managed to make it work this long, but it finally got to the point that I was like, okay, I need someone better than me to be CEO. So I reached out to my friend who was running sales and marketing, like, you're way more qualified than anybody we could possibly hire for this role. I've known you for 10 years. I trust you. Come be the CEO. And of course he says no, and then no, and no, and eventually convince him to step up and be the CEO. So we finally got that done this week, and it feels great. So he now has a very tough job ahead to scale the company to where we want to go. I get a little bit of a break and get to go back to writing code and being a nerd again, which I really like, and doing more research. So it's great. I think just a recommendation, don't feel like if you start a company and you're in a certain role when you start, you're not stuck there, right? You can always change roles later. You can find other people. Don't feel like you're trapped in a situation just because that's where you started off. So that was great for me to realize, like, hey, I don't have to be this role if I don't want to be. I could find someone better and do that, and promote someone to be this role that I am not as good at. So it was good. I feel like I get to go back to what I enjoy. He gets a great growth opportunity, and I'm really excited to see where things end up.
Thank you. Actually, I also share with all of you that both HD Moore and also Mr. Red Dragon is a friend for 20 years until now. And what I catch from the discussion is we at the end we do what we are best. It for HD Moore and Dragon now they are moving into their core competency on the technical thing. So that's what I get from both of discussion from our speaker here. Also, we have a very kind of, I think it's a really good question here. It's on kind of, do we have a to-do list for starting a startup or company in cybersecurity technology? I don't know what is the name of this participant, but I think this is very kind of good question for all of us. So maybe at this time, Red Dragon, you can have a very short answer on that.
Okay, so this is not what I'm good at, but I think for the startup cybersecurity, I think that definitely you need to have a good idea, right? To target like what kind of your target audience, target customer and the market and so on. So that's the first thing. And the second part is basically you need to have a team, right? At least some founding team member who is able to deliver or capable to deliver that. So cybersecurity is a bit different from the other startup because you need the experience and also the skill set in order to implement the product as well. So that's the key things. The rest I don't think is different from like having the startup. I mean, you need to get like the funding, the money, and the people to work on that. So and the plan. So
thank you. How are you? How do you think, Edimo?
I think I agree with RD. It's one of those, whether you're joining existing security company in a security job or you're starting a security company, you have to start off with another skill that brings you there in the first place. So the folks who are really good at starting security companies are folks who have good programming, good networking, good sales, good something else. And then they also get into security. Security is one of those types of roles that you have to already be coming from someplace else to really understand, because you have to see all the failures first. You have to be able to bring that knowledge of the industry, of the business, of the problem to the fore. So the key thing for me when starting a business is there a problem that I see that other people aren't solving? Do I think I've got a way to solve it that is different and cheaper, more efficient, better, faster, whatever the better widget is? And am I still going to be excited about solving that problem 5 years from now or 10 years from now? Because startups take a really long time. Startups take 7+ years if you're lucky and they survive that long. So there's a lot of kind of mortality in early stage startups. And there's a lot of risk in doing it. So when you're starting a company, you have to be willing to stand behind, not just, you don't necessarily have to stand behind the same idea for 10 years, but you have to be standing behind that set of problem, that type of customer, that goal. And companies definitely can pivot back and forth between things, but you have to have a lot of conviction personally. Otherwise, 2 years later, you'll be bored and want to do something else. And most companies, most startups who are successful don't really make money for 3 to 5 years, let alone 7 years for an exit. So it's one of those things where you have to be willing to wait and have you have to be very stubborn, I guess, to succeed, especially with security startups.
Thank you so much. Here we have the idea from, it's not idea, it's opinion from Vietnam side and also from US side, so that all the participants they can get the statement from them and they can prepare. You can prepare for the to-do list. I think we going on the end of the discussion, but we have a lot of question here. So I think we have one or two another question. The question next is both of you, Red Dragon and Eddie. All two of you has a long journey from the cyber security researcher to the current position. One is CTO and another is can you give us advice on the most important core competencies that we have to prepare to start on the cyber security business or technical business in overall? Only one. The most competency that you think. Eddie Moore, can you give first?
Sure. I'd probably say ability to learn, right? That's the same thing that makes you a good researcher is what makes you a good everything else, is being able to quickly learn about a problem when you run into it. Not being scared of it, right? If you get frustrated, that means your brain is working. Like if you start getting mad because you don't understand something, that's great. It's your brain saying, I don't want to learn this, but you want to learn anyways. So that's how I think of it. You have to be really good at learning.
Thank you, Eddie. How do you think, Red Dragon?
I agree with HD. I think I think it's not just cybersecurity. You research anything where you need to be you need to enjoy on that part, and you need to be patient, and also you need to have the ambitions, right? So trying to solve things and trying to understand what's happening internally and so on. So that's the key thing. And one of the most important is you also need to have really good on a background of computer science, like programming and so on. So that's I think will help you a lot when you starting cybersecurity research, because you need to understand the basic understanding of everything about from programming language and to networking or operating system and whatsoever. So no background things will actually help you a lot when you start cybersecurity research.
Thank you, Eddie, and also thank you, Red Dragon. I believe that in the most university and computer science always is a host for every student. Yep. Eddie, can you spend around 2 or 3 minutes more? So for another question is I think it's really quite specific to Vietnam. The question is Internet is like a very big national, big country with a border. It's no different between Vietnam or US. From your perspective, what is the opportunity for the engineer from Vietnam? I think opportunity on the cybersecurity technology business. Maybe this is a very specific question for Molly. So, but can you share some question, some answer on that? Eddie Moore?
I may not know the difference, but I'll at least say I think the challenge I've seen from a U.S. business owner working with folks overseas is that it's really difficult to hire full-time overseas staff in a lot of ways. It's hard to bring people over. So the internet is really good these days for individual contributors. If you're really smart, you're willing to do a lot of work and go find your own work, you can make lots of money all by yourself, doing bug bounties, doing research, doing all kinds of other stuff. And that's great, that's wonderful. The problem is when you want to go to the next step and start a company, you want to be able to build, go get funding, you want to bring venture capital, and you want to do that stuff, you're kind of stuck where you are. You have to either move to the US or move to a place that has lots of venture capital, or be able to work with your local network to get there. And I don't know much about the Vietnam investment space, so I'd leave that to RD, but I do see a lot of challenges with bringing folks from Vietnam to the US to work because of the visa challenges.
Thank you, Eddie. I think that for this question, I think Mr. Red Dragon here is a kind of proof for how we can start business in cyber security when we are in Vietnam. When we know. So I think after this discussion, this is one of the question from other participants. So I think after this discussion, they can connect with Mr. Red Dragon directly on how to start using it from Vietnam. Another question is on university. From both of your perspective, what is the role of university on the cybersecurity industries? So I think here, because it relates to some kind of research, VN Security also is kind of group of researcher. So I think Mr. Red Dragon can share some very kind of effective information on this kind, right? How do you think, Red Dragon? What is the role of university here?
I think, oh, well, okay, so back to the previous question a bit. I mean, in Vietnam, definitely it's not like US. You hardly can get like seed fund and so on for the startup. And rarely you don't see like cybersecurity startup in Vietnam. So even with the startup I invest, so basically we don't really can get like the seed investment in Vietnam, and basically it's mainly from like personal investment, or maybe we need to look for like investor from Singapore or US, not Vietnam. Back to the question in terms of university, I think university is very important because they are doing to teach the student in computer science, and those will be taking a big role in terms of building the cybersecurity workforce for the country. I think in the last few 7 to 5 years, I think there's a lot of university in Vietnam been offering like cybersecurity courses and so on. But I think in order to improve that, right, if you want to train like the good cybersecurity student, and so basically you need to have like the support from university, and also you need like skills professors and teacher in university. I think that's the gap, because nowadays you hardly can find like the professors from university have really in the infosec fields, research and so on in cybersecurity. So that will be limited the number of like the quality of student when in university when they graduate. So that's I think is the problem at the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Dragon. So I think here we are at the end of this discussion today. The last question is directly for Eddie Moore. What mathematics, science, engineering, or cyber security books do you recommend?
It's a good question. Not a lot of books that survive more than a couple of years, right? There's a lot of books that are, kind of timely. They're about a certain topic or technology, but it moves very quickly. So I've got a few that I really like. There's always TCP IP Illustrated is still kind of where I started, how I learned programming. Advanced Programming in the Unix Environment is a really good book as well. There's a really good book called Advanced Debugging for Windows 2000, which sounds really dated and stupid and terrible, but it's also really good. Sorry, I got a lot of books I like. A book that is more modern, I guess, would be Silence on the Wire by Michael Zalewski. I think it's a really great book because it talks about everything from when you touch the keyboard all the way to sending packets on the internet and web browsers and everything else in between. I think it's a really good, just learning about everything you do is a security event at some level. So I would probably pick that book as my favorite right now, is Silence on the Wire.
Thank you, Eddie. You make me remind that when I start the business in a student, I also research around 1 year on the TCP IP Illustrated by Richard Stevens, I think so. It's really good. Really good. Yes. Okay, so thank you for both speakers. I think for today's discussion is not so long, but we can get a lot of things to start the technical business. It's from how we can prepare for myself, how we can prepare for the team, and how we can go in the long term. We can do, I think in most of us, we do what we are the best. So that's why Mr. Red Dragon, now he still cyber security technical, but he also invests a lot in cyber security business. And also for the Eddie Moore, he started with the Metasploit project, and most of the participants here, they know on the Metasploit. And also he resides from DPS7, and now he started another business. And now he moved to another role in that business. It's a role that focuses on the technical thing. So that's it. I think that it's very kind of good learn from both of you. So that to have our attendee, nearly 100 attendee here, they can get from both of you. And I believe that with the help from another session like investor and also like mentoring, they can grow their business in cyber security. It's very, very, very kind of many. I think it's many opportunity on this market because like as you said, we the people they move to home, they work from home for the business, so that many new threats like as Mr. Redden said that it's like a supply chain attack. That is a very kind of hot attack right now. So thank you for the joining of my all attendee here because the time is not so long, so that we cannot serve for all the question. But we will send a question to our speaker here so that they can have time to answer it later if they have a time. Okay, so thank you on behalf of TECHFEST Vietnam 2021 and also on behalf of Cyber Security Technology Village, I also thank you for attending from both speaker and also from our attendee here. So I hope that for another activity of our village, we can still can get the support from all of you and also get the kind of motivation from other attendees. So thank you again, Eddie Moore. Thank you again, anh Redden, Nguyễn Lê Thành.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. We will send you some summary after this discussion to all of you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Do you want to share something another with our attendee, Mr. Redden? The last.
I don't have anything, but anyway, so I am really support in terms of like growing the cybersecurity industry in Vietnam. So if you have idea and you want to build startup and you need to look for funding, you always can find me. I can help, right? In terms of finding funding and even like giving you some feedback on like your idea and so on. So.
Thank you, Redden. And you, Eddie Moore, one thing you want to share to us? Yep.
No, I'm spacing out. Nothing else here. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Eddie Moore. Thank you, Redden. See you again, attendee and participant.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
MC, you can have the last.
Yes, thank you very much for all of your sharing today, our speaker and our moderators. It is a big honor for us to discuss with you. And to our audience through webinar today, Cybersecurity Technology Village, hope that you also have gained useful knowledge and experience about starting a business in the field of technology. In the near future, we believe that the domestic cybersecurity industry will have more quality idea, product, and solution to build a foundation for Vietnamese cybersecurity ecosystem. And in the series pre-event of TECHFEST 2021, our village will also organize many interesting activities, such as a series of webinars on the topic of cybersecurity, our competition to find ideas for starting a business in the cybersecurity industry. The competition is connected with more than 100 domestic and international investors and investment funds. So do not forget to follow the fan page of Cybersecurity Technology Village or scan the QR code and you may find out it in our fan page. Once again, the organizing team of the program would like to thank Speaker HD Moore, Speaker Thanh Nguyen, and Coordinator Ms. Chương for attending and sharing with us. Thank all the audience for joining the webinar. Goodbye and see you again.